Right, here we go. Welcome to the Russell Group meeting on the 18th of May 2021. Wonderful Long Road Year 12 students. We have an ex-student of Long Road with us called Sarah. Sarah, give us a wave. Can she see us?
Hi.
Hi, there you go. And Andrew as well, who's part of the QMUL Admissions Team as well. So hi, Andrew, give us a wave. Fantastic, thank you. Right, rather than me talk about QMUL, I love the place because my son went there. He absolutely loved all his 3 years there. I can't speak highly enough of it, but I want QMUL to tell you a little bit more about the university than I can tell you because I'm rather biased. I'm sure they've got lots of good stuff to talk about in a presentation, Sarah. I believe will be about 30 minutes long. Am I right?
Yeah, about that long.
Okay, then without ado, we shall get started. Sarah, over to you.
Okay, are you guys able to see that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, wait. Cool. So, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm an student of Long Road and I'm a 4th and final year comparative literature student at Queen Mary. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys today a little bit about my experience as a student at Queen Mary, my transition to university. I'm first going to talk a little bit about Queen Mary, so in case you guys are interested in applying, just so you know a little bit more about the university. Then I'll talk a bit about my experience and then there should be some time for questions. Okay.
Sarah, just to mention, are you able to maximize screen on your slides? I think it's gone vertical rather than horizontal.
Oopsie. Okay, I'll give it one sec. Is that working better?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, now it's gone. I'll be one sec. Okay, is that working now?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. So I think, Andrew, did you want to say something about the survey?
Yeah, of course. Thanks very much. I think Tim's already sent this to all the students. It's just a survey. It's a quick registration form for us to sort of track the progress of students. It sort of tells us sort of what activities you've been involved in. You'll also sign up to our marketing as an option as well if you want to get the email alerts for when our upcoming open days are or more information about various courses as well. So if you can all kindly just do that, it takes about 2 minutes less. That'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So firstly, who are we? Who is Queen Mary? One thing to note about Queen Mary is that we are a Russell Group university and we're quite proud of that. We represent 24 of the UK's top research institutions, and in order to be in the Russell Group, you have to be a university with outstanding teaching, research and student facilities. So you know you're going to an institution with the best of the best, and that's something that employers recognise, which is why graduates have earnings 10 to 13% higher on average than graduates of other similar institutions. So when you're choosing a university, you might want to bear the Russell Group in mind. We're a really diverse community. This is one thing that I always say to people when they ask about Queen Mary, is that we are super diverse, and it's something that has really made my university experience, to be honest. We have students from over 160 nationalities. So Queen Mary really is one of the most diverse institutions in the world. 50% are international students, 70% are Black and minority ethnic, 90% are from state schools, shout out. And 57% are first to go to university in their family. So I think if you're someone who's maybe thinking about trying to be in an inclusive environment, who's maybe, for me, when I was picking universities, I didn't want to go into an environment where I didn't feel comfortable as an ethnic minority and as someone from a state school. And I think Queen Mary is great because no matter who you are, you really feel welcome. That's one thing I love. Also one of the only campus-based universities in London. So we have 2 main campuses. We have quite a few campuses in London, but our largest campus is in Mile End, and it's one of the largest self-contained campuses in London. It's really got a great student village feel to it. honestly, walking around, hearing the conversations, looking across the canal, it's such a lovely campus. It's a very beautiful campus as well. And for me, I was quite between choosing like kind of a campus-based university, but I also want to be really connected to the city. And the great thing about Queen Mary is you can have both. You can just come out of campus and be on the tube, and yeah, it's really is like the best of both worlds, I think. And I think being in East London especially is just amazing. You're really at the heart of the city. There's all sorts of great little places to go around the campus. There's Victoria Park, there's little galleries like the Whitechapel Gallery, and like if you go down to Shoreditch or Hackney, you just walk down there. There's all these vintage markets and like record shops and stuff, and there's always gigs going on. It's really the best place to be a student, in my opinion. I wouldn't change that for the world. At the same time, you know, we're just in zone 2 next to 2 very connected tube stations. So if you ever want to get into Central, get into further away to other parts of London, it's very easy to do that. And it's great for your social life to be in London, I think. It's really, you know, you're part of a wider community of students by living in London, I guess. Also, in terms of academics, we have really amazing teachers. One thing I love about Queen Mary is that I have teachers who I can really talk to, and I always feel really supported by them. And they are experts. You know, we have 11 national teaching fellows, and all of my teachers are informed by their research in their teaching, which is something I think when we're in sixth form we don't really think much about, but when you get into university, I think you realise that having a research focused university and having teachers who are producing up and coming research is really beneficial to you, and it always means you're at like the forefront of what's new in academia. Yeah, and I think also having the option to study abroad. I personally studied abroad, and I can talk a little bit more about that later. That's a really great option, and Queen Mary is especially good for that. And having connections with businesses too. I'm constantly getting emails, constantly being contacted by my professors about opportunities to do work experience, work for organisations. I think Queen Mary's business links are amazing, especially if you're worried about maybe getting internships, getting a job after uni. Yeah, I always felt amazingly supported in that sense at Queen Mary. So here's just a couple of like the undergraduate courses we have. While these are actually our areas of study, so within that there are like variety of courses. Say you're in like biological or biomedical sciences. I have friends who are doing genetics degrees, and under English there's also English and creative writing. So you might want to have a little browse of the kind of areas we offer, and it's quite nice because I think especially if you're part of clubs or societies, you'll get to know people from different subject areas, and it's a very enriching experience being able to kind of learn in an interdisciplinary way, I guess. But yeah, I really enjoyed being part of like a wider academic community. So something you might want to know wherever you're applying is that there are different types of courses. So knowing the difference between, say, single honours and joint honours, etc. is quite important. So if you're doing a single honours degree, for example, you're just doing straight English, the majority of the courses you will be taking, you might have the opportunity to take 1 or 2 courses in different areas, but the vast majority of courses you'll be taking will just be in that one subject area. But there's also the option of joint honours, which a lot of my friends do, and they quite enjoy doing that. And you could have, you know, say if you were doing film studies and Hispanic studies, half of your degree, or approximately half of your degree, would be in film studies and the other half in Hispanic studies. So if you've got like 2 different subject areas you're really interested in, that might be something that's worth looking into. But then there's also the option of major minor courses. say if you really wanted to learn Mandarin Chinese, but you'd want to focus on business management for your degree, that is an option. You could have business management as your major with Mandarin Chinese as just a minor. There's courses with a year abroad. No bias, but I really recommend that option. I really enjoyed my year abroad, and it's a really great opportunity to take whilst you're in university. And also there's courses with industrial experience. So maybe if you're like worried about like finding work whilst you're in uni and you want to get like as much work experience as you can, that's a really great option. So yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience as well. I went to Long Road, as I mentioned, and I'm really happy to be an alumnus of Long Road. I think I learned a lot there that was really valuable for me when I went into university, especially being in such like an independent environment. I think we're all quite used to that kind of university lifestyle already, so you'll be good. But I think at this point, when you're researching universities, it can be a bit daunting, especially when maybe you're looking into subjects that you don't have an A-level in. So I studied politics, history, psychology, and an extended project. But I ended up doing comparative literature at university, which seems a little bit random, but I think one thing I would say is kind of go with your gut and go with your heart when you're looking into courses and you're deciding what to do. Like, don't be restricted by what you did your A-levels in, if you know what I mean. But obviously choose something that you really enjoy. I was quite involved in Long Road, in like Long Road Amnesty and Debate Club, and I was a student governor. Not sure how many of those are still going, but it's always great to talk about your activities, and if you did an EPQ, it's great to talk about that in your personal statement as well. You could ask me a bit more about that, like what, personal statements, etc., if you'd like later. So yeah, when it comes to deciding a university and a course, I think you should kind of think about your main priorities when you're going to university. So you want to balance choosing the right course for you, the right university, the right location, alongside, things like reputation, etc. So it is a really difficult choice, of course, but and choosing a course especially was really hard for me because, I mean, I changed my course choice like 3 times before I settled on one. But I think it's good to look around and really think about it carefully. Go to virtual open days or in person. I think once they start doing in-person campus tours and stuff, it would be a good idea just to kind of take a look at the different universities and courses that are available to you. I also really valued studied abroad opportunities. If you know you want to study abroad, do look at which unis have the best opportunities. And my top tip when I would say to you if you're deciding on a university or a course is to check module lists. So try to find out what courses you'd be able to take in each like degree program or university, and compare which ones sound the most interesting to you, because you don't want to be stuck in a 3-4 year degree doing a course that you don't enjoy or you don't find interesting. Yeah, so that's something I'd really recommend. I found really helped me. So why did I choose Queen Mary? So I chose my university kind of before I chose my course, if that makes sense. But well, I kind of chose them, yeah, together. But Queen Mary always appealed to me as a uni ever since like I'd heard about it. I think I found out about it in year 11, and I'd always thought, wow, this is kind of the university for me. It's got a really, really long history. History dates right back to 1785. So we're a very well-established university in London. We've got very interesting history, actually. And also, the Comparative Literature department at Queen Mary was one of the first in the UK. So having a really long, well-established programme is something that you might want to look out for when you're thinking about universities and courses. Also, of course, the reputation, Queen Mary's reputation was a big deal for me. I mean, being ranked 13th in the UK, 110th in the world, being a part of the Russell Group. Yeah, it's very, I mean, for me, it was important to go to a university with a good reputation, especially when it comes to employability and other factors. And also, I really wanted to go to an inclusive uni. Queen Mary has been recognised as the most inclusive Russell Group university in the Times and the Sunday Times Good University Guide. And for me, I think, especially coming from state schools, say if for those of us who maybe come from poorer backgrounds or are minority ethnic, it can sometimes be a struggle trying to find a university where you feel you would kind of fit in and belong and feel included, but then also has a good reputation. And that's what I liked about Queen Mary. It's because it is the most diverse Russell Group university. It is like such a welcoming, inclusive environment, but also really highly ranked. And yeah, that's one thing I love. And yeah, I did want to live both in a campus and live in London, as I earlier mentioned. And I mean, there are a couple of things that I didn't think about that I realised I really benefited from as a Queen Mary student once I got here. The first one being, I mean, the support is amazing. I think transitioning from A-levels to university, even though I prefer university to A-levels, it is a hard transition for a lot of people, even, you know, top students. So being in an environment where you're supported, that has, you know, tutors that you can always reach out to and people always there to help you, I've realised like that I really benefited from that at Queen Mary, and it's something that I'm so grateful for, because I think a lot of the opportunities I've had, I wouldn't have been able to have, you know, without the support I have at Queen Mary. Also, research excellence. When I was thinking of universities, I didn't think about research, but actually it really does benefit you a lot being in a research environment. I mean, for example, in my, like, after I leave uni, I've got a funded master's program in the States, and part of what, you know, helped me get that was being able to work with top researchers at my university. And you have just great opportunities from living in London, I think, you know, and from being a Queen Mary student. The internship opportunities that were available for me were, yeah, I wouldn't have really gotten that at another university, I don't think. And yeah, great student community as well. I've really enjoyed being a part of the student community at Queen Mary. Definitely one of the best things about being here, being connected to the city. I mean, what an example of this is, you know, we'd be studying like Salvador Dali in class. So we'd just go to the museum or go to the art gallery and look at his work and talk about it right there and then. And that's a great part about being in London, is that, you know, you have all of these resources at your footsteps. And of course, as I've mentioned, diversity was something that was, yeah, is something that really struck me as being a great part of my experience at Queen Mary. So yeah, I'm part of quite a few clubs and societies. I'd really recommend when you start university that you do try and get involved in as many clubs and societies, or just try, even if you don't stay at them, just try them out. It's great to just make friends with similar interests to you. I'm involved in Diaspora Speaks, which is a magazine for people of colour, and it's also I run a book club as a part of it, where we read Black and Asian British literature. So that's really fun. It's been really great being a part of that. And I was one of the founding members. So there's always opportunities to start your own club if you don't like any, although there are over 250, so I'm sure if you come to Queen Mary, you'll find something. I'm also involved in a literary magazine, which is called Peach, and Wonder, which is a literary journal, and the Indonesian Society. But I talked to some of my friends about this. I asked them what societies they're involved in, and there are a lot that I didn't know about because there are just so many. Alpha Kappa Psi, which is a business fraternity. Apparently, quite a few of my friends got jobs through that. So that might be something you're interested in. I don't think there are many fraternities in the UK, but it's something to be a part of, I guess, something unique to Queen Mary. There's a Pokemon Society, which is fun if you're into Pokemon, and a lot of my friends are in the Bhangra Society, and they put on these really amazing, it's a South Asian dance society, and they put on like really amazing performances each year, and it's always so fun to go to. So yeah, do recommend getting involved in those. As I've mentioned, living in London's great. Having access to all the resources that you do from living in London is amazing. Especially, you know, you can just go to an open lecture at another uni. I used to always go to like these open talks and lectures and say SOAS or King's or wherever I felt like, you know, whether there was a good event on. So in an academic sense, it's really helpful to be in London and to have, you know, the British Library and all of that at your footstep. But there's also always events going on. You literally never run out of things to do with your friends. If me and my friends were, you know, bored on a weekend, there would be always something free we could go to, some kind of event, some kind of thing. I think one thing I randomly got into was opera, because you can get free opera tickets as a student. So it's all of these silly things that you might end up just enjoying just as a virtue of being in London. Of course, there's, you know, the internship and work experience opportunities that come from being in London as well. You know, they're pretty unparalleled, especially because Queen Mary has such a great career centre as well. We're always being told what opportunities are available, always being pushed to apply to all these things. So if you're worried about maybe gaining experience whilst you're in university, Queen Mary's the place for you. And yeah, if you're worried about the cost of living in London, by the way, one thing I like about Queen Mary is that Mile End is a really quite a cheap place to live. I was paying less rent than my friends who are living in Birmingham. So, I mean, even though it's still London, it's surprisingly not that expensive. So if you're thinking about prices and stuff, yeah. And there's a great student village community. If you're on campus in your first year, it's great. Used to go for like midnight study sessions, me and my friends, because the library's 24/7. That's a great perk. And if you're wondering what comparative literature is and why I chose to do comparative literature, I'd kind of always loved reading, but I was really tired of reading just English literature in school. Because if you think about it, you know, when we say English literature, we don't really know what that means, but in a technical sense, English literature just means literature's written in English. And I really wanted to study literatures from, you know, other languages originally and other cultures. And I also had interest in so many different areas, you know, politics, environmental studies, philosophy, psychology, etc., etc. And comparative literature is a very interdisciplinary field, so it allowed me to explore all of these different areas of study. And I chose Queen Mary for comparative literature because they have like their own department. It's not just, you know, a subfield of English. You know, all the staff are trained comparatists, and they all really, really care about their subject, and they're really willing to talk to students and always trying to get us involved. So yeah, it's a great community to be a part of. And Queen Mary's comparative literature department is strongly committed to having a decolonised curriculum and having a global curriculum, which initially drew me to the department. I think a lot of us young people especially do care about having a decolonised curriculum, having an inclusive curriculum, and it's something that I'm very grateful to have benefited from and enjoyed at Queen Mary. And I chose Queen Mary because the modules appealed to me the most, and that has not disappointed me. I've been able to take the most exciting modules during my time here. And I also like the assessment was coursework based. I suck at exams. If anyone else does too, comparative literature at Queen Mary, we don't have any. And also I like that at Queen Mary I had the opportunity to take classes at other University of London colleges. I don't think this goes for all courses at Queen Mary, but for comparative literature it certainly does. I could take classes at SOAS or UCL if I so chose, and quite a few of my friends did take classes in at King's and at SOAS. So yeah, as I've explained, it's the study of all the literatures of the world. We study literatures in every language and culture in translation. Don't need to know every language. And one second I'll be taking a class in German philosophy, and the next class I'll be doing, climate change, and the next I'll be doing Chinese and Indian modernist literature, and then Russian fairy tales. It's really such a range, and I enjoy it so much. I can't recommend it highly enough. No bias. And you don't need an English or a language A level or anything, just a humanities-based subject, so you can write essays and stuff. I also studied abroad. I went to Yale NUS College in Singapore, which is a collaboration between Yale University in America and the National University of Singapore. It's like a small, tiny liberal arts college, very different to any university in the UK. And it was such a challenging experience, but so rewarding. I think studying abroad is something that if you have the opportunity to do it, just go ahead, just do it. It's like, it makes you, like the growth that I had as a person and as a student was really like, it's really the best experience of my life. In terms of academics, you can just study stuff you wouldn't be able to study in the UK. I studied Bahasa Indonesia, which is a language that I'd always kind of wanted to study because my mom's Indonesian, but I'd never really had the opportunity to. So I took advantage of that whilst I was there, and I took all these, Southeast Asian literature classes, which were really interesting. And I also did a lot of traveling, of course. I went to Japan, I went to Indonesia, Malaysia, and I made loads of friends, and we still Zoom each other all the time, panic over coursework and all of that together. And also, I mean, there's a lot of benefits from studying abroad, just in terms of like how likely you are to get a first or a 2-1, and you're more likely to get a job after graduation. Whenever I've applied for internships and stuff, they've always been very interested in my year abroad. And yeah, it's definitely something that will benefit you if you so decide to do it. So I just finally want to talk a bit about transitioning from sixth form to university and like some of the biggest tips I would give you. Definitely in your first year, don't just slack. I know it doesn't count as much as your other years. It might not even count at all depending on your degree program, but definitely try and take that time just to improve yourself. Actively seek support. It's really the best thing you can do is get into the habit of seeking support, going to your lecturers, taking advantage of all the amazing resources that are available to you, to try and be like, the best student, get into the good habits, whilst you're in your first year, if you know what I mean. And join clubs and societies, of course. Even though university is a very social environment, sometimes it might be hard to find people with common interests with you, like same as it is anywhere else. So you know, get out there and try to find people with the same interests as you, and don't be afraid to reach out to your classmates either, you know, and ask them if they want a coffee or whatever, because, you know, it's really a good time to just find people, you know, I don't know, find your circle, I guess. Oh, and don't be afraid of your lecturers. I think being in a uni environment for the first time, it can be quite daunting, like sitting in a big lecture hall and just having the lecturer there. But they always have office hours. Go to them, just talk to your lecturers, get to know them, and, you know, don't be afraid to ask questions, because they're always there to help. And be prepared for a different style of learning. So maybe you're a really strong student, or maybe you're a really weak student at A levels. But university is completely different to A levels, I think. Some people find it easier, some people find it harder, but it's really such a different style of learning. I can't talk really for the science subjects, but for the humanities, it's less about memorizing as much as it is being open-minded, thinking critically, being willing to, you know, ask questions. So go into university, don't be scared of university, but go in with an open mind and just try your best, I think. And as long as you keep trying and taking advantage of resources, you will succeed. You'll do great. Just to shout out the Outreach Hub, Queen Mary's website has a lot of resources on picking the right university, picking the right course, and creating a great personal statement. So you might want to take a note of that link. It's really useful. All the people I know who've done these courses have found them really useful. And oh yeah, UniBuddy. I'm on there if you want to chat to me a bit more about anything from this presentation. If you're too shy to ask questions or something, you can give me a shout there. But also if you're interested in a particular subject that I might not know about, say law, geography, or, you know, biology, we have students in like nearly every subject area on UniBuddy, and they'll be really happy to talk to you about their course, and they'll reply to you usually within about 24 hours. So yeah, it's a really great resource there. So thank you. I'm now really happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yes, that's fantastic. We've got questions coming through. Or is that Andrew? Sorry, I've butted in there, Andrew. Sorry, you speak.
Oh no, I didn't have a question there. I just thought, well, first, thank you very much, Sarah. But I did think one thing, if you wanted to add in, is what any aspirations you have for after university. I know you mentioned your 4th year, so I think those students might be interested in what you might want to go on in terms of your career choices and how, well, your direction you go and how you think you're going to get there as well.
Yes, so I have a funded master's in the US, so I got a teaching scholarship to teach and study at the University of Kentucky for 2 years. And my lecturers really supported me through that application process, after which I would hope to go on to do a PhD and eventually go into academia, maybe try and become a lecturer, who knows, but I'm keeping my options open at this point.
That's fantastic news. We wish you all the very best of luck in going to America. That can't be bad at all. Now, I know some of our students sometimes don't like to ask questions aloud, so I can open the chat box. And if anyone wants to put a question to Sarah or to Andrew in the chat box, I can sort of say what the question is for you. While you're thinking of that and maybe putting the question in, I'm expecting questions from Alwyn, Owen, Christian, you're on there. Amy, John, come on. I want some questions. Poppy, I can see on there as well. Hope as well. Maybe a question from you. That'd be fantastic. Put them in the chat box for me, and I will try my best to sort of go through those. While we're going through that, let me just reiterate a couple of things that Sarah said there, and I thought it was really key and interesting. she talks about sort of looking at lots of different universities. Obviously, Queen Mary is a fantastic university. That's why we've invited them in to speak to you today. I know how good it is. You've just heard how good it is from another ex-student of Long Road there. It's a fantastic place. Where am I going with that? Sarah says, look at the degrees, start working now. And we've got to think about this as a Russell Group sort of group of students. Of course, we've sort of had nice, friendly, shall I say, informal sessions sometimes, a couple of formal sessions as well. But I think now is the time to really start thinking about your universities. Queen Mary being one of them. 24 Russell Groups. That's a lot of universities in a way to start looking around. You can only choose 5, as Adam told you last week. 5 maximum. You've got to now start to look at the degrees they hold. And I loved actually what Sarah said there about looking at studying a degree that you probably didn't study at A level. So comparative literature, for instance. And my son did philosophy, politics and economics at Long Road a few years ago. He went on to study human geography. There's law students at Queen Mary, a phenomenal law department at Queen Mary. I know that. We don't do law A level here, but it doesn't mean to say you can't apply for law or find out more. And I like that idea, what Sarah was saying there about having these uni buddies, Sarah being one of them. You really should be taking advantage of these things. I can only tell you so much. You need to start researching now and becoming an independent researcher for your next major step. A major step into a university that could be one of the top universities in the world. I think I've got a couple of questions. I think Pierre, as always, has got a question for me. Pierre has put here, did you do any work experience or volunteering before applying to university, Sarah?
So I did a few, I volunteered at my local food bank and I wrote about that in my personal statement. So if you do some volunteering, it would be good to maybe write a little bit about that. I don't think it's entirely necessary though. If you are very busy, I say you're working part-time jobs, etc., and can't quite find the time, I think it's okay just to talk about your interests, but at the same time, if you can do some volunteering or work experience, whether it's relevant to your degree or not, that always does help with your personal statement.
That's excellent, thank you. You did an EPQ, Sarah. Could I ask what that was in, if you can remember?
Yes, it was on, I think it was on communism and politics. Okay. It was very different to what I studied, but here's the thing, even if it's not in the area you're studying, the skills you gain from an EPQ are very valuable and very good to talk about in your personal statement. So talking about the kind of skills you gained in doing research and writing coursework, that will be really helpful.
That's excellent. Thank you. I've got another question for you here, Sarah, coming up. This is from Lara. Is there lots of workload? Do you have to do loads of work here, Sarah? That's the question.
I'll let Andrew speak first, I think.
So I was just going to add in just from a admissions point of view in terms of when you're applying to university, unless it's for a very specific course such as medicine and dentistry where work experience is critical. Likewise with sort of quite hands-on courses, work experience is never really a requirement. So when you look at courses, they say you need to predict at certain grades, but work experience won't be down there as a specific requirement. Obviously, will do you good stead in your application because they know you've got more life experience and it's an area that you can talk about. But when we look at personal statements as well, we generally ask students to aim for 80% of your personal statement to be related to your academic subject and 20% to be related to your interest or additional work experience. So that will give you a bit of an indication in terms of what the balance we look for in that. One thing for me to add an EPQ as well, in terms of how much we value the EPQ, apart from medicine and dentistry, if you do the EPQ and you achieve or you're predicted an A in your EPQ, we will offer you an alternative offer of 1 grade lower than our standard entry as well. So that's again us realizing the academic skills standard of an EPQ. So that's something to worth considering if you're not haven't thought of doing one.
That's interesting, because Mariana sort of asked that question about how much you look in depth at your EPQ. So I think you've answered her question there. Thank you for that, Andrew. So is there lots of workload, you two? How busy are QMU students?
I'd say it's manageable, but it's for my course, I have a lot of reading, which I think at first is something that's a bit of a shock if you're not someone who maybe reads a lot. But you get used to it very quickly, and you kind of, as I think you become more disciplined as you go further along in your degree. And I've always found the time to take time to myself. Yeah, I don't think it's something to worry about too much.
That's good news. OK, thank you for that. Daisy wants to know, can you stay on campus for the whole time, or is it just for your first year of study?
At Queen Mary, it is just in your first year, but I believe you, Andrew, you might want to check me, but if you live outside of London, I believe you're guaranteed accommodation for that first year.
So first year accommodation guarantees for all students. So you can live next door to the university and live in halls if you wish to, but it's only for first year, and obviously we prioritise those students because it's a big transition, especially if you're coming from outside of London. What's traditionally done is you meet friends in your first year, whether it's people you live in halls with already or in your course, and then you go and find housing just off site. So even very close proximity to university. Some people might choose to live a bit further away, but the university provides support for you to find that privately rented accommodation as well. So you still have that support, just not officially on campus.
And I can vouch that, being a parent there, my son had excellent accommodation on site. In fact, I think I saw his room on one of the pictures that was on the presentation there. It really was smack in the centre of the university in a campus. And you're right, year 2 and year 3, he actually was only 10 minutes down the road. It was a lovely walk to his lectures in the morning there. So really good point. I think that's a serious selling point, by the way, especially for the parents' carers. So talk to mums, dads, etc., and go to the open days at Queen Mary. That's when you'll realise what a fantastic campus it is. A campus in the centre of one of the most famous cities in the world. Yet, as Sarah says, you can take a 5-minute walk to Mile End Tube, and in 10 minutes' time, you're in the centre of one of the most famous cities in the world. Theatreland, cinemas, art galleries. You cannot get a better location than Queen Mary. I can go on about it all day, but I best find out what other questions are coming up. Hope, lovely question now. Hope wants to know, do you give a lot of weight there to the personal statement, guys, at Queen Mary? Do you really look at the personal statement, and do you do any interviewing as well for applicants?
Yeah, I can take this one. So the personal statement is part of your application. So what I would say first and foremost is your academic ability. So what we do look at first is your grades. If you're just off the grade, so like if we're asking for A star AA, if you predicted 3 A's, it's still worth applying, because sometimes we'll make you an offer as an aspirational offer, because obviously we know predicted grades only is predicted. You can sometimes overachieve those. In terms of your personal statement, for medicine and dentistry, for example, they do look at your personal statement when it gets to the interview stage. And for other courses, it does get looked at. But when it comes more important is, for example, if on results day, you missed your offer by 1 grade, the admissions officer will revisit your application, and they'll most likely even put more weighting on your personal statement and may still decide to offer you that place even though you missed your grade. So it is still important to make sure your personal statement is up to scratch as well.
That's excellent stuff. Thank you very much. Any more questions from our wonderful students? Just pop one in the chat box. Otherwise, I'll sort of start to think about one, personally thanking Andrew and Sarah from my side there for helping out. We've got 40 students on board here as well, and I know they're all really grateful for your time, etc. Just sort of kind of recapping a little bit, if I could there. Russell Group, 24 sort of universities in the Russell Group there. We've just heard how important it is looking at your personal statements and making 80% of those sort of subject-based, academic-based. That's absolutely key, and we've heard that a few times now. You heard it last week if you came to the Oxbridge talk with Adam. The same thing applies to the rest of the Russell Group universities. It's so key. What did Adam say last week, and what have we said a number of times? You can't just do a personal statement once off and get it right. Adam, who's at Cambridge, took about 8 attempts before he got it right. I know that Sarah will probably nod in agreement and say, I remember my personal statement. Hopefully she said she'll start it on time, but she may have started it a bit later than she'd have hoped for. She may have given herself a bit of a rush there. Sarah, be honest with us. How did you get on with the UCAS process, and what tips would you give to our current long road students, please?
Yeah, I think writing a personal statement at first for me, I remember I just was like, I drew a blank. I had no idea what I was doing. So I just typed out a really rough draft and I sent it to, I remember I sent it to one of the teachers who I was like, I think you guys do have academic tutors still. It's really important to get a secondary glance and to get feedback and to go for support when it comes to your personal statement, and to revise it and revise it and revise it. I definitely remember revising mine quite a few times. And the UCAS process, it's a little bit a while ago now that I think about it, but I think trying to narrow down 5 choices can be quite difficult. But I think if you like just really try and go with your gut, but also try and think about it carefully, and I'm sure you'll end up somewhere that you love. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, you can't start too early. That's what we're saying there. Just give it a go. Your progress coaches, me, Adam, others who are going to support you, this aren't going to laugh at your first, second, third drafts. We're going to look at them, and we're hopefully going to give constructive feedback and say, have a think of this, look at that, maybe take that bit out. Have you thought about this, etc.? You've got to get started on it, just like you've got to get started, in a sense, looking at these universities. You'll get a feel for a university. And again, just one more little bit on that as well. How many times over the years have I been in this post where I've heard students go, I'm not going to a London university, it's too expensive to live there. What did Sarah say? It was actually cheaper for her to live in London than it was for her friends to live in Birmingham. That tells you something. Sarah, Queen Mary's only an hour or so down the train line or down the M11 as well. So the one thing I think you should really sort of consider about this university is it's close enough to home, but it's far enough away for you and for parents. It's got a fantastic reputation, yeah, and it's affordable. It's a campus in a fantastic city. It's got everything going for it. I've just seen one more quick question. This is the last question, then we better say goodbye. Let's have a look. Jazz, you've asked, how does NCS look on a personal statement? Yeah, so Jazz, the NCS on personal statements, i.e. any other sort of bits on that personal statement by the looks of it. Sarah, what's your thoughts?
I think Andrew might be able to talk about this a bit more, because I don't personally do NCS, but I did talk about a few. I think having extracurricular activities and things that show your qualities as a student is great, but obviously you maybe want to limit that to about 20% of your personal statement.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, so obviously we know you're not robots. We don't expect you just to be, academia purely, and anything like NCS, or if you do Duke of Edinburgh or any other additional clubs, prefects, that sort of stuff is going to do well in your personal statement, because we also want to know that you're a human being. And also, as Sarah said, at university, it's a big community. There's a lot of societies. There's always a group for everyone, no matter what your interest is. And we'd also like to know that you're going to be part of this community as well. So part of the admissions process, not just knowing that you're going to come and do your study and then go away and do, you may, whatever your career choice might be. We also want to make sure that you're going to be part of the Queen Mary community. And when you graduate Queen Mary, you're going to come back and support Queen Mary students, just like Sarah's coming back to support Long Road students as well. That's
fantastic news. Yeah, I mean, that's about it now. But I again just sort of reiterate now, I've been to a lot of Russell Group universities over the 15 years I've been doing this, and of course they're all fantastic. They've got their specialisms, etc. But as Sarah and Andrew have told you, this is This is a university that's got great inclusivity. It's got so much going for it. It's an hour away from Cambridge. The cost of living is affordable. It's got lots for it. It's got a fantastic range of degrees, as you've seen as well. So we're going to hopefully talk to you a little bit more about that. And maybe next year as well, Andrew and Sarah might be able to pop in and do a little bit of real life sort of talking with us. That's what we're hoping for. I know we've got to finish because it's now 3:30. I just want, if some of our students or all our students could go on camera and just give a wave to these two, that'd be fantastic and a lovely finish for us. So get your cameras on and wave to Sarah and Andrew. And I will say thank you so much for your time. I will keep in touch via email. And Andrew, do you just want to do a last little bit there about this questionnaire that you were asking us to do?
Yeah, please. Yeah, so the questionnaire has been sent around. It's mainly for us to do evaluation for the session, of course, but also with your permission, if you tick the box, it's for us to track to see where you progress. So in essence, it's for us to look at long-term evaluation and impact of these sessions. So what we can do with data is then find out if you did progress university, if you went to Russell Group, or you might have gone to a different one. And then we can sort of look at different activities you've been part of and whether we can then pinpoint saying these particular activities are useful. So it's actually part of wider research and not necessarily just for Queen Mary. It does only take about 2 minutes at most. If you can fill that out, that'd be absolutely fantastic.
That's important. Now, I've got a register of you wonderful students that have spent this afternoon looking at that. I'd like to see your names on that sort of that little bit of detail there and information. It's going to take you 2 minutes. You're not only doing it for yourself, but actually you're doing it for the future of other students that come through Long Road and for the universities as well. So may I thank you both very much. Sarah, I will make sure that you will be on our alumni, absolutely. And I hope to see you both maybe on campus in the next couple of months. Thank you very much. Wave bye-bye, students, or say bye-bye to Sarah and Andrew, please.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks now. Bye-bye.